Hey everyone, it's Dave from Dave's Ohio Barbecue. Today I am going to make one of my favorite recipes. I am going to make smoked chicken on the offset smoker. Stick around. This was one of the first meats I ever really tried to smoke, even before I had any smokers. I would do it on a gas grill, or I built this contraption out of cinder blocks once and I smoked some meat on that. And it always turned out really, really good. The secret to it, first you have to spatchcock the chickens. If you don't know what that means, you basically cut out the backbone of the chicken, lay it flat on the cutting board, and then press real hard, kind of crack that breastbone so that you get a nice flat chicken. Cooks a little bit more evenly that way. That way you don't have a big empty cavity kind of messing everything up. Gets you really nice moist chicken all throughout, thigh, breast, all over. Don't throw out the backbones, by the way. Chuck them in a Ziploc bag. Use them to make some chicken stock at a later date. They're perfect for that and no use wasting it. What I have is my two chickens that I've already spatchcocked. I used to do a wet brining on this when I first started, and that's fine, but I feel with chicken and most poultry it gives you like, I don't know, it gives it a bad texture. The meat doesn't have a very meaty texture anymore. It makes it kind of almost like fluffy and just, I don't know, it shreds apart too easily. Something about it I don't like. So I have switched to dry brining. If you want the wet brining recipe that I used to use, I'll put it down below in the description. But as for the dry brining, it's the same way I do pretty much any meat. I take about a half teaspoon of salt per pound of bird, and I just sprinkle it all over. Mostly on the inside. Try to put some on the skin, but you got to remember, the skin on a chicken, it's like basically putting a latex glove over top of it. Not much is going to get through there. Some salt might, but not a whole lot. You can rub a little bit of salt under the skin. That comes in handy. But I'm also going to make a paste out of my rub here in a little bit, and I'm going to rub that under the skin, and that's the real trick to getting it to soak into the bird. So when you dry brine, you make sure you do it at least 2 hours ahead of time. I usually do it overnight or very early the morning that I'm going to cook the birds. The birds don't take very long, so you can do it in the morning and still have several hours for the brine to actually, the dry brine to take effect. The rub that I've been using is kind of like an amalgamation of many different rubs that I've used in the past. I'll have the ingredients come by here. But I find this is a really good, just sort of universal chicken barbecue rub. My friends who like spicy food like it. My friends who don't like spicy food like it. It's just kind of nice, everyday rub to use on poultry. I'm going to put rub on all the exposed areas, mostly on the inside of the cavity. I'm also going to cover the skin with it, but I make this paste, and basically I take about a tablespoon of rub to a little less than a tablespoon of oil. I mix it up until it gets nice and pasty so that I can scoop it with my hand. Put a glove on. Work your finger underneath the skin, get the skin loosened from the thigh and the leg and all over the breast, and just kind of scoop some of this up and slather it all on in there and let it sit. I do this about an hour, hour and a half before I put it on the smoker, especially since I'm rubbing this paste mixture underneath the skin. I want to give it a little bit of time to soak in. I usually don't put rubs on until about a half hour before they go in the smoker, but in this case I do it a little bit earlier so it has time to kind of cling and absorb into it. So this isn't a recipe that you're going to smoke at 225, 250. You can, and a lot of people do smoke chicken at that temperature. It'll take about 5-6 hours if you do it that way. The problem is when you bite into it, you're going to bite into like this rubber skin that just is not really pleasing at all. There's no crisp to it or anything. It's just gross. So I prefer to smoke my chicken for about 3 hours, but I do it at a much higher temperature, about 325. So in the smoker today, what I'm using is I'm going to use apple wood. People have asked me, why do you use apple wood all the time? I have an entire shed filled with split apple logs that I'm trying to get through. So most of my recipes use apple wood. I'm also a big fan of using the ingredients that are kind of around you, and since I live in Ohio and we have a ton of apple trees, it makes sense. Someone in Ohio smoking with mesquite wood doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because that doesn't grow around here. So I've got a nice bed of coals in there. I got my fire built up. It's about 325 is what I've been hovering at. I'm going to put the chickens on. I tend to rotate them a couple times during the cook so it gets even. If you want to, you can start with the dark meat facing the fire. That might give it a little insulation, but I've got a water pan in there and that diffuses the heat really well down by the bottom of the smoker. So I just put them on however they fit best for right now. If you see a couple other chickens sitting on my smoker, that's a completely different recipe that I was just testing out. The two that I'm filming are the ones that we're working on today. So I keep going with these birds until the internal temperature of the breast gets to be about 165. You can even pull it at 160 and let the carryover temperature take it up there, but if you want to be safe, let it get up to about 165. Pull them, let them sit for anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour, and then you can carve it up. This chicken was delicious. It had a great smoke flavor. The skin had crisp to it. You could bite right through it. It wasn't rubbery at all, which is what I hate. And it just tasted really good. Everyone who came over for dinner loved it. And they all took bags with leftovers in it because I made far too much as usual. And as always, all the details of this recipe will be down below in the description. So cooking time, recipes, temperatures, all that. It's down below in case I talk too fast. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you press that little notification bell next to the subscription button. That way when I make new videos, you'll get notified of them. Tell a friend if you like my channel, if you think they'll like it. And also follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Dave's Ohio Barbecue. I'll have more videos coming out soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.